Good evening and welcome to the NXTGEN Season 19 Coates vs Newsham Mini Cooper Cup. We are here at Dragon Trail Seaside for a 1 hour enduro for the halfway point of the season for the minis. Obviously 5 rounds to go after this one. See NXTGEN Les going through the S's. Over the crest. Fourfish currently has the fastest time in practice of a 2 minutes 2.599. So that's going to be interesting to see how that one pans out. Waze has joined the room, which is good to see. We should have about 11 drivers tonight. Missing a few, which is unfortunate, but a few drivers have had to pull out due to family things, which is fair enough. As you can need to watch Les coming through the final corner, turn 19 effectively. Actually, that's turn 18 into 19. What can he do this time around? He crosses the line in practice, and it's a 2 minutes 3.4. Gonna find a lot of people looking for the slipstream. It's quite an important tour round Seaside. Near the qualification. It's 10 minutes of qualifying. Actually, I am the host of the room, which means we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way of a practice. Then an endurance race, because if you're not aware, obviously I run the McGanns on a Thursday, and we seem to run into a few issues there, so we were doing it the old style to try and prevent any issues from occurring. It's Dramatic Dave. Currently on a 203.3. Which isn't too bad. Up through the S's for Dramatic Day on that latest attempt. We are a minute away from qualifying. There is the Jensen Racing Mobile of Bruce Lee Harding. So he crosses the line. Puts in a 203.9, so he's gradually getting quicker. Just waiting for the time to clip over. She's not very excited for the stream, but that is how it all works, unfortunately. Almost like a behind the scenes shot. It's 2029 time wise, which means we'll be going for qualifying very shortly. Less than a minute. In fact, there it is, 2030. So let the guys know, the 10 minutes qualifying has now started here at Dragon Trail. Guys will have 10 minutes to produce their best in terms of a 1 lap pace. The grid can be quite important in these mini races, especially with a 1 hour endurance race, as Wade's having a few issues on his way out of the pits. But Philo, the first man to hit the track as he heads into turns 2 and 3. He's followed by Rally Matt, Mad Marshall, D Whitehouse, Four Fish, Wade still in the pits, Snav still in the pits, but we'll also have the likes of Joey Dunlop and co joining the track soon. You can see the guys just start entering in. There's Bruce Lee Harding. And a couple of people left to enter and go. Feeling comes through the S's, obviously 2 minutes a lap, so we're looking at a 30 lap race here. It's absolutely flat out as well, there's no wear. Wade's having a few lag issues at the moment by the seams of it. So just exiting the pits. Going to go on board with Philo though, because it's an interesting circuit, Dragon Trail Seaside to drive, which are coming up towards turn 18. That's turn 18, up towards 19, then the final corner, flat left. So here we go, on board with TNR Philo. He crosses the line to start his lap as we head up towards turn 1, a flat right-hander. Takes a while these minis. Flat right-hander, using all the code, trying to shorten that distance. Going to hit the brakes at the 100 board, down to third for turns 2 and 3. Try and hook the curb on the left-hand side to give you a run through the right. Using a bit more curb than you'd probably want to is Philo. Through 4, the flick left, turn 5 should be a flat right. Is flat right, turn 6, a hairpin right. Down to third again, making sure he doesn't have any real wheel spin coming out of the corner. And then you head down to 7, 8, 9 and 10. This section I like to call the S's, so through 7, into 8. Flat little lift in the mini through 8, and there's 9, which is flat, and then flat through 10 up over the crest. Then you have another little flick left turn 11, again just absolutely pinned. Then you go back down the hill towards turn 12. You go in and it opens out for you. It's a tight entry, opens out, then into turns 13, 14, 15, 16, known as the chicane of death. You flat right, flat left, and this is the death section of the chicane. Flat in a mini, not too bad, only 100 mile an hour. Through 17, again long left-hand flat corner. Going to hit the brakes at 100. Ooh, 75 even, down to third, late apex for turn 18 for Philo, looking to get that drive out. And then turn 19, should have flat left-hander. And look for Philo, he stayed out wide for the start of the lap. He's going to stay on the left-hand side to end the lap. And 2:04.0 is the current time to beat. Rally Matt 8/10 away. Wade to somehow find himself third in the queue of cars as he powers out of the final couple of corners. What can he do? He puts himself into second. Mad Marshall stays fourth. D Whitehouse into third, but Four Fish takes the provisional pole position right now. I'm hoping that yeah, Joey Dunlop is actually on the circuit, which is good to see. NXTGEN Layers, this is the next person we need to have a look at really, because Traumatic Dave, I say that. Traumatic Dave's put in a 2:02.8 to go on pole position for Team Newsham. Here comes Les. He puts it second on the grid. He is 0.166 behind Traumatic Dave. To cross the line. The Bodget and Scarpa racing car. See on Team Newsham. What can he come up with? See, 205.2 puts him ahead of Mad Marshall. Not too far away from Rally Matt, and Joey Dunlop at 219.4, though I think that's his outlap, so he's just starting his first proper flyer. Originally holding up to 4th. Tried a gymnastic routine on some stairs, didn't quite work out for him, but doesn't look like it's affected his pace too much. Philo. So he's got no slipstream, and this is where the issue lies for him. He's done a 204. He's gone 0.002 quicker than his personal best so far. But as I say, there's no slipstream for him. Compared to the likes of Full Fish, Traumatic Dave, D. Whitehouse. I mean, there's Traumatic Dave. He's actually got no slipstream at the moment. There's Bruce Lee. Traumatic Dave just coming through the final couple of corners. Where's Full Fish at? There's Full Fish. He's got some slipstream, but is it going to be enough to pull him up? No, it's not. It looks like he's got involved in a bit of overtaking instead. Traumatic Dave coming up to the line. Can he go any quicker? The answer is no. Bruce Lee Harding, he can't improve either. Next Gen Les. What has he got in the tank? He's in a 2.9. He can't improve. Oh, that seemed a bit interesting. Someone, I think just some screechy tyres, but D. Whitehouse, who's in 7th at the moment, seemed to have had a bit of a moment into turn 6. Joey Dunlop puts it 8th on the grid at the moment. 8 minutes 20 gone. Go back to feet. Isn't gonna help. I'm just gonna change my controller because it seems to be a bit bitty. I don't know if I'm dreaming or not. Right, so 9 minutes 16 gone. Bruce Lee Harding has put himself into second place. With a 2:02.851, so only 0.025 away from Traumatic Dave. This is perfect from the two Newsham drivers. They are sitting in a 1-2 front row lockout, and Waze is also on their team in 4th. This is exactly what Team Newsham need right now. But we're going to put out a message. So, everyone's going to finish their current lap. The guys at the back just about snuck in, I think. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But for Philo, this will be his final lap of qualifying. Up to the line he goes. He does go quicker, but he can't improve on his time. Who is that? That is Rally Matt coming up to the line. What can he do? He does, again, he does go quick by half a second, so people finding a lot of time in this final lap of qualifying. There's Waze. I think there's 4 fish ahead of him. Yep, so 4 fish. Can he find any time? The answer is yes, he puts himself in 4th. Waze also finds time, puts himself in 3rd. Bruce Lee Harding can't find any more time out of that, nor can Traumatic Dave. All eyes are on NXTGEN Les. It's a Newsham top 3. And it's going to stay a Newsham top 3. I don't know about Marshall, so I don't think that's going to affect the results too much, not to be too harsh. Just reply to Waze because we're going to go. Joey Dunlop needs to come out of the pits, so he's bought waits a little bit of time, but not really 2 mins. I mean, we should be starting the race now. Which Waze is actually? There's Waze. We're just waiting for. So Joey Dunlop has taken his place. So the race is going to start now. But it will be Traumatic Dave, who is on pole position at Dragon Trail. The question is, can he keep that place? And how well will the top 3 Newsham drivers actually work together? This is an absolute fantastic opportunity. A quick picture of the grid. This is a great opportunity for them to work together here. So the revs rise, ready to go green. So we have the 3 red lights. We're green here at Dragon Trail Seaside. Who's got the best getaway? Traumatic Dave has really got off the line well. Bruce Lee Harding has gone with him for good measure. These two now need to work together, settle things immediately into turns 2 and 3. Waze has gone backwards. He's down to 5th. Philo challenging Les though for 3rd. Down into turn 2. They're almost 3 wide. They're 3 wide behind, I can tell you that much. But Bruce Lee Harding has come out on top with Les now down the inside of Traumatic Dave coming into turn 5. Oh, a beautiful move from the coach driver. Although Traumatic Dave straight back down the inside. We'll have to have another look at that because he's managed to take the place. I'm not entirely convinced Les would be happy about that, but we'll go back and have a look. And at the back, Rally Matt has had an awful start. He's at the back of the pack. Waze is ghosted, I think that is. So I don't know what's going on with Waze. Well, there's Matt Marshall's just had a big accident going through the S's. But it's a Newsham top 3. It's Philo right behind Traumatic Dave. But let's go on board and have a look. So, coming out of 3 through 4 up to 5. There's Les down the inside of us. Little tap going in, but nothing special. They hit the brakes. Dramatic Dave just gone down the inside, and he's got a long sight. Les there, you know. And as I say that, he's just gone off, but looks at his Dramatic Dave. Yeah, it looks like he's had something happen to him at the hairpin. It looks like it was with Philo, so his teammate on teammate. That's not ideal because it's left Bruce Lee Harding vulnerable to the 3 coach drivers behind. And these guys are now line astern, looking to catch the leader. That is Bruce Lee Harding as we complete lap 1. Dramatic Dave and Philo need to now work together to get up to this pack again to challenge. Meanwhile, behind, Snav is looking for a move on Randy Matt, and here comes Joey Dunlop down the inside. Bit of contact made there. I think Snav will be too happy, but Joey Dunlop has ended up into 8th for now. A diving move on board. It's come from a long way back. I'm saying that, I think he just has a bit of a moment coming out of the hairpin right at 6. This Mad Marshall. Something isn't right there with Wade's car. I don't know what's going on with it. But Bruce Lee Harding still leading the way from Fourfish, from Les. Those two have gapped D Whitehouse 7 now. And as I say that, Les looking down the inside of Fourfish. If he continues to try that, they're going to not catch up to Bruce in the lead. TNR Philo has got past Dramatic Dave in the meantime for 5th. Through the chicane of death. No one's died of that chicane yet. "56 minutes remaining" is a lot of time remaining in this race. Bruce Lee Harding is about to find himself in a very uncomfortable position. The only Newsham driver in that leading pack. Philo trying his best here to try and get back onto terms with them, but 2.6 behind. It's looking very unlikely with the train that is forming at the front. Good pace, good line out from Bruce Lee Harding, hooking up the car nicely through turn 3. But that slipstream really coming into its own at the top of the circuit. On board with the Newsham driver coming down towards the S's. Fourfish with the fastest lap, 2 minutes 2.5 in that slipstream. More Fourfish later on the brakes, but you sense the momentum through the corners with Bruce there. Bruce allowing the car to roll the car that little bit more, keeping the momentum through the corner. And here comes Fourfish. To the outside of turn 18, Bruce going to keep that inside line. Should fend him off for the minute, but it's going to get harder and harder. But if Bruce can keep a fight up with this lot, it may mean that Philo, who there is 3.3 with Dramatic Dave behind, It may give Philo a chance to try and catch back up if these lot start fighting with one another. But Fourfish to the inside of Bruce Lee Harding, coming into turn 2. Bruce gonna stick it round the outside. Bit of rubbing between the pair, but good racing all together. And Bruce Lee Harding, very mighty defence through the first few corners. Through 5 into 6. Once again, Bruce Lee Harding letting it roll through the corner a little bit better than Fourfish, allowing him to keep the pace up so that he can't be under attack through the corner. They snake their way through the S's. There's Philo in the background. Up over the crest. And Les looking to get involved here. Les almost looking down the inside of Fourfish. Fourfish has gone really deep, swept across the front, and Bruce Lee Harding has taken the lead. A mighty move from Fourfish there, and here comes Les looking to attack the orange Newsham team driver of Bruce Lee Harding as he fights his way. It's a 3 versus 1 on team versus team here for the top 4. But Bruce watch this again. Just on board. And just brakes later, gets that sweep. And as I say that, Fourfish hasn't had a very good exit to find a couple of corners. I'll have a quick look back, see what we can see. So Bruce Lee Harding looks for an attack down the inside. Oh, the pair just run a little bit wider, and Les takes advantage. So it's Les to Fourfish to Bruce Lee Harding now. 3.3, so that gap not really getting any better for Philo behind. Les looking to try and break away. He set a personal best through sector 1. Still leading the way. Further behind, I think Running Matt is running on his own. And there's ahead of Joey Dunlop, 2.2 seconds cover those two, so that could become quite an interesting battle. Mad Marshall looking just to pick up points here. I don't know what's happened to Waze, but I don't know what he's doing. But Next Gen Les under pressure from Fourfish into turn 18. And this has allowed a run from Bruce Lee Harding, who's going to look to try and take on the two coach drivers. It's not quite going to happen. He doesn't have that slipstream, although Fourfish gives it to him down the main straight. Here comes number 69 machine. Through turn 1, side by side, I think Bruce is going to have to probably brake a bit earlier here, try and get the line out of the chicane. He does that. He gets a bit of a wiggle though, which has stopped him from getting that optimum line out of the chicane. And ultimately, it stopped him from looking for second place. But here comes Les. He's got a great run coming out of the hairpin right. And Fourfish doesn't even bother fighting that one. He knows Les has got the run. Let them go. There's still 48 minutes left of this race. It's a long, long time to go. We're just over a sixth of the way through. And say estimating about 29 to 30 laps. But that's the top two fight. Four Fish and Les looking to go side by side once again, heading up towards the chicane. Tell you now, there's been no ruling in place of like a stationary yellow. Just drivers have to be sensible through here. On board with DY, I was going to look up front because Four Fish to the inside of Les, we can see it there. And there's a nice line from DY House looking to try and get underneath Bruce, but not quite paying off. Bruce now looking for that slipstream to help him fend off the Club 100 driver. The gap back to Philo, still 3.3, and a slightly missed gear there from DY House, whether that's on purpose or not to make sure he didn't get too close, because Four Fish still down the inside of Les for that battle for first, and it looks like it's a poor exit from Four Fish, and that should be Les through, and Bruce is going to have a look here, practically pushing Les up towards turn 5 side by side for second place. Oh, and a bit of a twitch that from Les. Bruce still looking down the inside of Four Fish, who squeezes Bruce out just on the apex, but Les back into the lead. Through the S's they go. Down to the turn 12 hairpin. Meanwhile, Slav has definitely gapped Joey Dunlop. It's been a bit of a lonely race. This running Mao, who's catching up to Traumatic Dave and Philo, who is only 2.4 now behind DY House. DY House has had a bit of a moment somewhere, I think, and has dropped off the back. But the fight for first to third, sorry, is still well and truly on. Bruce Lee Harding still in that mix, just within that slipstream range. Here comes Four Fish once again to the inside. Bruce Lee Harding trying to fill up the mirrors. A wider line Bruce is taking. Look, he's trying to keep the momentum up around the outside. Not entirely convinced it's the best line, but it's keeping him in touch right now with the top two. Remember, for this race, all points are double. So it's not just 21 for a win, it's 42 points for a win here tonight, as Four Fish obviously in the lead once again. What can Les do? These three practically inseparable coming through turn 5. And you can see in the background Philo, he's gradually picking up that gap, and he's going to bring Traumatic Dave with him. The Ghost of Ways, by the looks of it. Oh, and Les almost pushing Four Fish through the corner. It looked like Bruce Lee Harding took it a little bit too steady going through the Ghost of Ways, obviously not trusting the ghost physics through turn 12, but he's straight back on the leading pair. And this is starting to turn into a very long train of cars. Albeit it's a slightly spread out one, but the top two keep fighting, and it keeps bringing Philo. Where is he? There he is, 2 seconds, 3.6 from the lead, 2 seconds away from DY House. So He's closing in. Here comes Les. Looks to the inside. Thinks better of it. If he's not careful, he's going to allow Bruce Lee Harding up the inside. This has just turned into a very tactical race. We've still got 43.5 minutes worth of racing. Normally at this point we'd be looking at the final 3 minutes. You add another 40 minutes on top of that, and this is going to be absolutely brilliant racing. Has Les found the gap to the inside of Fourfish? He hasn't. And Bruce on a slightly different line, looking for a good exit. Can he get to the outside? No, he can't, so he's going to stick in behind Les for now. The biggest thing here is that they don't lose Fourfish. They can't allow Fourfish to get away. What always has retired from the race. Through the S's they go once again. Philo just 1.4 away from D. Whitehouse. Bruce filling the mirrors of Les coming into turn 12, but nothing doing. He knows the best thing to do at the moment is to almost help Les get to the back of Fourfish and then re-engage in their three-way scrap. Down towards the penultimate corner, and Les jinks out to the inside, looking to take the lead once again, which he's successful in doing, and it put Fourfish on a really wide line. Lucky not to concede another place to Bruce on that occasion. Bruce is looking like he's trying to play his cards a little bit, try and play the long game, as it were. He's having little looks here and there, but nothing concrete. Oh, and he's just gone a bit wide through the turns 2 and 3. That wasn't ideal. Has that cost him that chance? He's now 0.9. As I say that, the top two almost going side by side, which is going to help him. Les another personal best through sector 1. Over the crest, down the hill. Bruce still just hanging in within that 1 second window of Fourfish. Fourfish looking for a move. It looks like he had a slight tap on Les going through turn 12. It's looking like Bruce, now a second behind, struggling. After that mistake, he's just broken that toe. Or it's not as strong as before. Very close to the wall on the inside of the chicane of death. As here comes Fourfish to the inside. Although doesn't quite get out on the inside, has kind of compromised the pair of them. Fourfish realising he's not quite got the run. And that's allowed Bruce Lee Harding to get a little bit of time back here. As he's not close enough in that slipstream to really benefit, but here comes Fourfish. To the inside of turn 1. With the outside for turn 2, but Les decides not to press the issue. But not a great line from Fourfish. Should be a good exit from Les, but not good enough by the looks of this. And this is helping Bruce, because now he's just 0.7 behind these two. Philo slowly closing in on the background to D Whitehouse 7. He's 4.1 off the lead, but only 1.2 away from Bruce. From D Whitehouse, sorry. Traumatic Dave has Rally Matt just behind. So that's looking like an interesting battle that we'll have to keep an eye on. Up over the crest of turn 10 and now 11. And 4-ish holding her steady right now. Bruce back to a second behind, so tiny little mistakes. And not only that, these two in front have maximum slipstream together. Are starting to walk away. But here comes Les to the inside. Wolfish tucks back in, and there's another change for the lead. Brutally holding down 1.3. It's looking very tough unless these two have a very poor corner somewhere. It's looking like they're going to start to pull away from the rest of the pack and make it all about them. Bruce trying to carry as much pace as he can through turns 2 and 3. He has to get down to 1.2, but then it all goes back up as the concertina effect takes shape. Nearing the halfway mark of this race. 36 minutes to go, and 4-ish. Really trying to eye up NXTGEN Les. There's 4-ish. He's just been dropped a little bit by Les. He's up to about 0.4 of a second. As here comes 4-ish down the inside, looking for yet again another change of the lead, and he's gonna do it. So 4-ish retakes the lead for now as they head up over the crest towards the start-finish line. Bruce really not far behind here. 1.6 behind him, but it's enough now that he hasn't got any slipstream. But here comes another battle. In the pipeline is Philo on Dean Whitehouse. Oh, Philo trying to shut the car through there. Now there's running Matt. He's fallen behind Traumatic Dave. We got Snav in 8th, Joey Dunlop 9th. He's a good 7.4 away from Snav. Matt Marshall 8.6 away from that. Meanwhile, 4-ish holding on to the lead. Up over the crest. Down to 12, and Les looking to the inside. We haven't seen many overtakes on this corner, but Les makes it count. As he retakes the lead, it's looking like they're starting to try and size up for the end of the race already. We're not even halfway through, but they're sizing up already for the end of the race. What is the best position to be in? And right now, you'd have to say, going into this penultimate corner, you want to be second on that last lap. Because it looks like you can get down the inside, disrupt your opponent enough that they can't bite back at you coming down the main straight. Because the run to the line is almost too short. So, interesting information for the drivers. It's DY House. There is Philo. 1.1 behind. The 203.5 last time around for Philo. 203.1 for D Whitehouse. I just want to say Davey still got 0.2 of a second penalty to ditch. I was running back behind. 1.8 to 203.9 for running back last time around. Comparable to a 203.2 by Fourfish. Down through the Essex for the 14th time this race. And these guys are going at it non-stop. Les now, will he look for another move into this turn 12 hairpin? No, he decides better of it. Towards the chicane of death. It's a purple sector for Fourfish. He's the fastest man up to that point on this lap. Slightly different lines from the pair through the chicane of death. Into the penultimate corner, and Les didn't have a shot at it getting past Fourfish this time. On to lap 15, and it's a fastest lap of the race for Fourfish at 2:02.3, leading all the way that time. So Fourfish has really found a bit of pace here. As now Les makes his move into turn 2. He'll compromise his turn 3 exit though. But not enough to warrant another overtake from Fourfish. Through turn 5, turn 6. And you see Fourfish all over the back of that psychedelic car of NXTGEN Les. So once again, and I'm going to set a replay marker because Philo's got past D Whitehouse and our replays haven't caught it. That's a shame, but Philo into 4th. He's now 2.5 behind Bruce with the slipstream of D Whitehouse, so they're going to catch up to Bruce quite quickly here. As I say that, D Whitehouse down the inside of Philo through 12. Philo a little bit deep as they head into the chicane of death for the 15th time. Oh, they're not going to keep it side by side, are they? They are going to keep it side by side. Philo gets the first dibs though. D Whitehouse pulling in behind. You are at the front. They are once again side by side as Fourfish takes the lead. Les looking for a good exit. Can he get one? The answer is yes. Does he have enough to lead the lap? The answer is no. They're going to stay side by side as Les now retakes the lead into turn 2. Four-fish, DY House 7. Halfway through this race now. And we've also missed it, but Rally Matt has got past Traumatic Dave, so maybe a mistake from Traumatic Dave. Let's just double check that wasn't recent. No, that wasn't. That's a little while ago by the looks of it for Rally Matt. This battle for fourth. Philo runs a little bit wide. Gets away with it. But he's got D Whitehouse right behind him. Entering the S's. Only 9 competitors, as I think Mad Marshall has retired from the race, which is a shame because had he just kept going, he'd have scored points, but unfortunately he's going to score 0 now. Side by side once again between Philo and Whitehouse. Philo just about having enough. And all this is doing is losing them time to Bruce Lee Harding. Bruce happy in third right now. In terms of an individual, Bruce Lee Harding scoring 30 points where he sits right now. Well, at the front, Four-fish and Let's still going at it, 17 laps in. And these guys aren't finished yet. Through the turns 2 and 3 chicane. On board with Four-fish now. Brings a little bit earlier than Les, gets a slightly better line, but Les gets a slightly better exit. It's all about these very slightly bits at the moment, and it's a purple sector for Four-fish. These two are going absolutely all guns blazing, and they're still setting fastest sector times. Here comes Les. Is he going to look to make the move at turn 12? So he's just going to push him. That's how close it is on the bumper cam. And Les unable to make the move into 12, allowing Four-fish that line. On board now with NXTGEN Les through the chicane of death. Will he look? Yes, he will have a look to the inside. Four-fish lets him as he looks for a good run on the exit. He'll pick up the slipstream. No extra fast lap at 2:02.500. Absolutely dead on the mark for Les as they come through turn 1 once again. Philo has... Oh, what's happened to to D Whitehouse? He's had a big moment somewhere as D Whitehouse. He's down in 7th. Too busy watching Four-fish and Les for that matter. But massive thing in terms of the teams. Gifts Philo that 4th place. The only thing is it allows Rally Matt up into 5th and Traumatic Dave into 6th. So still going the way of Coates right now. Especially with the top 2 being Coates drivers. 2.7 the gap back to Bruce Lee Harding. So these two start fighting, good proper fighting, losing time everywhere. Still doable for Bruce to get back into this leading battle. That's Four-fish down the inside into 12. retakes the lead, and Les once again pulls in behind looking for that slipstream. Through the chicane of death. And here comes Les once again. Surely he's going to have a look to take the lead into the penultimate corner. Oh, he thinks better of it. Looking maybe for the exit instead. It is a better exit, but is it enough of a better exit? That is the biggest question here. I don't think it is. No, it's not. That says to me you need to be within, say, 0.07, 0.06 of the car ahead of you to make that work. Let's try a slightly different line. Not quite working. 22 minutes remain in the session. Forfish pulling out a slight gap there, half a second. He's really got the momentum through that turn 6 hairpin. He's ditched Les behind. .4 of a second. And closing. And Bruce now only 2 seconds behind Les. And that's closing. So this is starting to get interesting, because if Bruce Lee Harding comes back into the fray, that can really mix things up for the top two nearer the end of this race. There's no one near making a move there. Everything else just a bit spread out, so it is really just the top two. The battle for the first place has been raging now for 19 laps. Across the line right now, Forfish taking maximum race points because Traumatic Dave only have 2 bonus points for that pole position. Forfish has just gapped Les slightly. He's like 0.5, 0.6 of a second right now. It's fluctuating between. But I say that as Forfish has a bad run coming out of 6. As I say that, he sets a faster sector. A purple sector time. But Les has really got the momentum through 6. And all through the S's, up through the hill. Well, let's now look for a move into 12. Or is he going to wait to pounce, or he's looking? He was looking, and he does decide better of it. He's going to wait until turn 18. The chicane of death, absolutely flat in these cars. Only 150 brake horsepower, 1050 kilograms on racing soft tyres. Fantastic cars to drive, making that chicane of death easy. But here comes Les back to the inside. Forfish once again lets him go. He knows it's not worth pursuing that right now. There's no point defending the undefendable, shall we say. Laps in the book. 18 minutes remain. I think when I get 29 laps, I think I'll be lucky to get 20 to get to 30, but now it comes down to a sprint style race, 20-minute sprint race for the winner of this race between these two. We know these two tend to battle it out all through the 20 minutes of a normal sprint race, but they've been doing this for 42 minutes so far. And there's just been no stopping them. Absolutely no stopping. It was very unlucky that Bruce lost them earlier on in this race, because I think there'd been a good dynamic three-way fight, but Fourfish to the inside, and as per normal, he regains the lead. Very back and forth. I'd love for someone to go back through this video and work out how many times the lead has changed. A lot of times the lead has changed. As Les, will he line up another lead change into 18? He looks for it, decides against it. We'll look for a better exit. Slightly better mid-corner there for Les, so now he's got the chance to lead the lap out for lap 21. Not quite, it's still going to be Fourfish. Whereas you get that switchback, but then you're on the outside full flick left, which, okay, it's a flat left, there's nothing to it, but there's a lot of distance to cover if you're on the outside compared to the inside. Into turns 2 and 3, again, two very different lines, having the same effect of pace. Problematic Dave starting to catch Rally Matt, but the gap just looks smaller than it used to be. It's still about 2 seconds at the moment, so 2:02.8, a fastest time for Traumatic Dave that time around. He did take about half a second actually out of Rally Matt, so he's starting to find his feet. There is Snav. He has dropped a lot of time to Joey Dunlop. He's 1.8 ahead of him. Has a half a second penalty. So that's what happened to D. Whitehouse. Philo lagged, unfortunately, in front of him in the chicane. D. Whitehouse trying to avoid him, hit the wall. That's a big shame that for D. Whitehouse. That was looking like a good battle as well. So you can see Joey Dunlop trying to get rid of some of his penalty there. Back at the front, and these two pushing each other through the chicane of death. 22 laps in, 1/10 between them. Just quarter of an hour to go. Anyway, DYS, you're meant to be driving, not texting. Phenomenal scenes there. I'm sure no one else on circuit is. 1.5 between Rally Matt, Traumatic Dave. DY is now pushing too hard, so we're going to go and obviously see if we can find a replay of that. Don't know why the man's got the checker flag out. There's still about quarter of an hour to go, mate. You're going to be holding it there. I think D. Whitehouse had a bit of a moment through the final corner. Yes, he did. Back at the front, though. This is where the battle is. Fourfish and Les. 2/10 separate them through the chicane of death they go. 13 minutes remaining. Les to the inside, as we know, this is the routine. To the inside. Fourfish looks for the switchback. Oh, and he's got it as well. Fourfish has a run, but it's not enough. As you can see there, the difference in... That's a very wide line through the last corner from Fourfish. I wonder if that was deliberate. This time Les defending into turn 2, sweeps back across. Fourfish still going strong here. And Dramatic Dave has somehow D. Whitehouse is becoming our spotter here. Has got Rally Matt, the number 88 machine, up into 5th. Replays haven't caught it, but he's also gapped Rally Matt here by 0.9 of a second. He's been focused on the front because that's where the battle is, and also Joey Dunlop is battling with Snav as we speak, up towards turn number 1 into the 2-3 chicane. Snav looking for a better line out, not quite getting it. The back end getting away from him a little bit under braking. These guys fighting for that wooden spoon, really. And Snav just tailed off. 2:39 last time around for Joey Dunlop. It was a 2:47 for Snav. So not a good lap for the budget and Scarpa driver. And that was Rally Matt running very wide through turn 12. In his pursuit to chase down Dramatic Dave once again, who is now holding a 24-point haul with the double points in play. Here comes Les down the inside of Fourfish though, and like clockwork, Les goes back through. On to lap 25, 10.5 minutes remaining. Here comes Fourfish to the outside of turn 2. He goes into the lead, so once again we have another lead change between these two. But they're doing it in such a manner that they're not losing any time. It's such good racing from the pair. There's Joe Dunlop, who's now pulled 1.6 over Snav. There is D. Whitehouse. There's Ronnie Matt in 6th, Dramatic Dave now 1.3 ahead. Philo is in 4th, Bruce Lee Harding 3rd, Les 2nd, and Fourfish in 1st with a 0.7 second gap. That's not ideal. What's happened to Les? So it must have happened through that chicane, because Les has done absolutely everything fine there. So I think the turn 2-3 chicane is where Les has lost that time. Luckily, he has started to gain it back. But it just made the complexity of this drive for Les a little bit more difficult. Because even though he isn't that far ahead, is Fourfish, round here the time difference is just minuscule. One wrong move, and I say that, D. Whitehouse, I don't know if this is a deliberate move from D. Whitehouse. He's been caught by Joey Dunlop. So these two are about to have a bit of a fight, I fear, which could allow Snav to get back into play. Because we all know Joey Dunlop doesn't tend to work with drivers all that well. I say work with them, he doesn't really work with them, any of them. But Snav goes very wide through turn 12. And D. Whitehouse pulls in behind Joey Dunlop. Back at the front through 3, and Les leading the way. Yep, big slipstream into turn 2 for Les. Jobs are good. D. Whitehouse behind Joey Dunlop. And they were a concertina effect, really. I mean, Snav 1.2 behind these two. As Mad Marshall's put the team Newsham in a bit of an awkward position. They now play 5-on-4. And I get this feeling D. Whitehouse is being a bit annoying for Snav because he's not overtaking Joey Dunlop. In fact, he's trying to push him away, although I say that Snav is actually catching up to the pair of them. So this is going to be an interesting one as Fourfish is re-overtaken. I'm going to assume that's into turn 12. Pulls out alongside. No, he doesn't pull out alongside. He just manages to keep the front end a bit tighter to the inside. And is this going to be a routine overtaking to the penultimate corner? Yes, it is. Les to the inside of lap 26. 6 minutes 43 to go. It's becoming a crunch time. 4 more laps. Are we? We might get 4 more laps out of this. We should do. At 2 minutes, even 2 minutes 3 a lap, that's 6:09. So we will get 30 laps out of this race. As Les down the inside of Fourfish, they continue to swap places. As we go down the list, Joey Dunlop has now dropped back to 1.7, so I think, yeah, this is not ideal for Snav, because it's definitely apparent that D. Whitehouse is helping Joey Dunlop escape the clutches of the Bodgett and Scarpa driver. Also, whilst we've been fiddling around with that, I think this has already happened, but yeah, Riley Matt has re-overtaken Traumatic Dave. So something's happened in that battle. 1.1 separates them. So 5th place for Rally Matt for now, all barring there's no further mistakes. Back at the front, Les is leading the way. Through the chicane of death, down towards turn 17, turn 18, turn 19. And here comes Fourfish for a regulation overtake. Regulation overtake for Fourfish as they continue to swap places, but here comes Les immediately trying to re-overtake. And this is where the strategy, because these two are in the same team, but they've got 3.7 seconds now to Bruce Lee Harding behind. So they can start to have a little bit of a fight. So they had a little bit of fight. They've been having a 28 lap battle. 56-minute fight all race long. So early on you had the likes of D. Whitehouse and Bruce Lee Harding, who was part of that battle as well. Down towards the hairpin at turn 12. Forvish down the inside. Fantastic stuff between these two. So you just... Oh, and Dramatic Dave has got back past Rally Matt. Looks like out of the hairpin at 6. Got a good run through the yeses. Yes, it is. So Dramatic Dave back into the top 5. Up towards the penultimate corner they go. Running Matt looking to the outside. I don't think that's quite going to happen. Good defence from Traumatic Dave, but Rally Matt should get a run up towards turn 2. Although Traumatic Dave going towards the outside of turn number 19. Allows Rally Matt to the inside. So Matt retakes 5th place, but he's not got the ideal line through 2 and 3, which is going to allow Traumatic Dave a run back out through 4. Up to the turn 5 flick. I think they're going to go side by side. Yes, they are going to go side by side. Traumatic Dave into the turn 6 hairpin. Going to carry on. So back into 5th for Traumatic Dave. So the leaders should get one more lap out of this. These two might be the first to actually cross the line and finish for good. Be a tight one. Back at the front though, and it's going to be Fullfish still leading the way, although here comes Les for yet again a regulation overtake. Into turn 18. Job is a good net as they head on to the final lap of the race. With just 23 seconds to spare, they cross the line. Bruce Lee Harding will cross the line for another lap. Here comes Philo, he'll get there in time. Rally Matt has to make this work now, I feel. He's gone round the outside of Traumatic Dave. Has he got the run? Yes, he does. Traumatic Dave isn't going to get back in time here. Time is up, and it will be Rally Matt who takes 5th place away from Traumatic Dave at the death of the race. It's a shame really with a GT Sport that you can't just allow everyone to carry on driving. Joey Dunlop assisted by D. Whitehouse. It's such a shame because we were looking at a good battle between Joey Dunlop and Snav, as D. Whitehouse just overtakes Joey at the end for 7th place. D. Whitehouse robbing us of a battle there. But it will be D. Whitehouse in 7th place, Joey Dunlop in 8th. Snav comes home 9th. Bit of a shame. That was looking like a good battle brewing between him and Joey, but obviously D. Whitehouse robbing us of that one. Meanwhile, Fullfish and Les, you have to feel Les in the prime position now, coming through the chicane of death. This the final lap of the race. Flat through the left, flat through the right, through 17, that flat left-hander. This time, Four Fish giving no quarters. If Les wants this, he's going to have to go the long way around. Has Les? I don't think Les has got a good enough run. 0.17, that's too much, surely. Oh, but Four Fish has given him an open door. But it is Four Fish who wins at Dragon Trail Seaside from Les. Third will be Bruce Lee Harding. Fourth, TNR Philo to round us off tonight. What a race between the top two, though. 0.034 of a second separates them after 60 minutes of racing. It can't get any better than that for a top two finish. That battle, fantastic. Shame Bruce Lee Harding couldn't yeah, shame Bruce Lee Harding just lost that slipstream. I think that would have been an interesting battle if he could have stayed with him, but only 5.1 away. Philo, a good recovery back into fourth after him and Traumatic Dave had a tangle again. That could have been a different story. But an hour and 1 minute of racing and just 0.034 separate Four Fish and Les. Bruce Lee Harding in third, Philo fourth, Riley Matt fifth, just nicking that top 5 place away from Traumatic Dave right at the end. D Whitehouse in seventh, Joey Dunlop 8th, and Snav in 9th. Fantastic racing from the guys here in the Coates versus Newsham mini challenge, mini cup. It's fantastic to see. But that is our one and only race for tonight for the minis. We are going to go to round 6. Round 6 next week, next Monday, and we go to Brands Hatch Indy. So 2 races at Brands Hatch Indy. Going to be a phenomenal race phenomenal couple of races to come from there. But from myself and everyone here, thank you to Max Coates and Callum Newsham for sponsoring the league. It's fantastic to have you guys on board, especially with this much action going on, even in a 1 hour race. Four Fish and Les producing a masterclass of racing. But for myself and everyone here, thank you all for watching tonight. Do join us next week for more mini cup action. But until then, good night.